Good morning, I'm Robbie Crispin, and this is Quick Court, the fastest way to justice. It's holiday season at Quick Court. And we're here today in the case of Julie McDowell versus Jimmy Lee Marcus. Jimmy was lucky enough to get a Tickle Me Garbanzo at the Christmas store. But Mrs. McDowell claims that he got it unfairly, and that he should give it up to her. Please rise, said the bailiff, for the Honorable Judge Susan Triton, and Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to you, bailiff. The case of Mrs. McDowell versus Jimmy is now in session. Fred, please begin with your opening statement. Certainly, cheered Fred. Well, as you know, Robbie, the hottest toy this season is the Tickle Me Garbanzo. Quite personally, I don't think it's that special. But people love it, and they're even willing to fight for it. My client Jimmy was at the Christmas store. He was one of 100 people. Hold on a second, he said, checking his papers. He was actually one of 1,000. Now, of course, there weren't going to be enough Tickle Me Garbanzos for everyone. So my client Jimmy scooted up to the front a bit, and he passed by Mrs. McDowell. In fact, he was in the same spot as she was before he started moving up. And that's where the trouble began. You see, Jimmy scooted up as much close to the door as he could. He stepped over a yellow line that was in front of the door. When the store opened 10 minutes later, he got in first and was one of the few to get a Tickle Me Garbanzo. But my client Jimmy was completely unaware that this line was off limits. There was nothing telling him so, added Fred. However, Mrs. McDowell says that there was a sign telling him so, and that he cheated his Tickle Me Garbanzo. So, for being unfair, she wants it from him. And I just think that's ridiculous, Fred finished. Now I shall begin questioning my first witness, my client Jimmy. Jimmy, why did you want that doll? If you must know, started Jimmy, I wanted to take it apart and see how it works. That way I would know how to build an even better toy. What a relief, sighed Fred. I thought you were being girly. Mrs. McDowell, what do you have to say? I think that kid is messed up, she said. We all do. His bizarre interests kept me from getting a Tickle Me Garbanzo this Christmas. And believe me, I had much better intentions. A likely story. Now, seeing as I am with the local newspaper, I should know one thing. What did you want the doll for? I was going to give it to my son as a Christmas present. A likely story, he snickered. Where is your son? A babysitter, sighed the lady. Oh. What, on Christmas? Yes, on Christmas, she sighed. I can thank the defendant for that. Huh, well this court isn't for crybabies, sniggered Fred. But Jimmy was sad. Fred, what have I done? I hurt an innocent person for my own personal gain. Well, you do that all the time. Well, I shouldn't on Christmas, said Jimmy. Mrs. McDowell's attorney took out his briefcase. There was a sign, he said. It's in here, we can verify that. You don't have to, said Jimmy. Your Honor, may I run home for a quick second? If it's for what I think it's for, young man, you may be excused. So Jimmy ran home, and he soon returned with a large present. Tell your son I said Merry Christmas, said Jimmy. Wow, she said, thank you. I guess you're not such a bad kid after all, Jimmy. Hold on a second, interrupted Fred. Did you say your first name was Julie? I sometimes go by Julia, too. Why? Are you the Fred I think you are? Fred blushed. Yes. Merry Christmas, she said. We went out together once, Jimmy, smiled Fred. You're a nice kid, Jimmy. Usually. At least for Christmas, I am.